Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Honkai Impact character analysis. We're back. This one's a bit more delayed than the previous ones. I do apologize, HSR has taken a large percentage of my attention the past few days, but we're back with Prometheus, who is in fact an imaginary physical support character. But as we go through this character again, you're going to probably notice that she also does a lot of damage, and so you're going to be questioning that support kind of application. But regardless, let's get into the character, going through everything to do with the character, the kit, the build, the type, how to play her, everything to do with her, essentially. Everything you can think of, we can try to cover it to the best of our ability and explain how she works. So let's get into it. The lead skill is pretty generic, 24% physical damage and team initial SP plus 25, and then for each imaginary character present in the team, team initial SP plus 25 again. You know, you could probably get 75% bonus or 75 SP bonus, but you're probably not going to do that, and you're most likely not going to end up using this one, unless obviously something from Memorial Arena. You know, if you need that extra SP on the start, you might use Prometheus's lead skill, but generally speaking, probably not. Moving on though, we've got a few things. Again, as per usual, I've highlighted the important stuff, and there is a summary essentially on the screen in the bottom right here. Read the summary if you don't want to have a spiel. But most of this is not crazily important. The passive is each character in the team who isn't protected by a shield skill will gain a dense neutron shield that I will call DNS from now on. And DNS has an initial value of 2,000 points with a maximum of 3,000. Essentially, you get a shield. It's kind of like just a shield, really. I'm not going to try to explain what a shield is to you guys. I'm pretty sure you guys know what a shield is. It blocks things. It will block 50% incoming damage for the character, which is quite good. Moving on to the right side, though, slightly more important things. Memory and character within 15 seconds upon entry. The shield break damage plus 60% for characters with a DNS, which is very strong. 60% plus shield break damage is very good. Life and creation, characters with a DNS gain a shield break damage plus 20% and slightly increased anti-interrupt. Also, enemies on the field take 23% more total damage. Which is very good. Just the mere having of a DNS is very, very powerful. And then past and future, when Rebirth Supersymmetric Particle hits an enemy, team melee physical damage plus 35%. That is just it's very weird that this passive is here, but Rebirth Supersymmetric Particle, that is, I believe, your combo attack or something to do with your combo attack, or it might even be, I think, a rank up, rank up, which is, regardless, I don't know why that's here, but it's here. 35% melee damage is very good. Moving on though, onto the evasion. This one's a bit more nifty, and this is probably going to play a bit more of a factor in how you actually play the character. And so her evasion is you can hold the evasion button to use a shield and enter defense mode. Nullifying damage from the front during defense mode restores 70 points of load energy per second, which is quite a good thing. A lot of throughout the whole character thing, you're going to be noticing that load energy is going to be like regen through some means or another. Load energy is just the expendable resource for the character. When taking a hit, release evasion button at the exact moment of hitting to trigger an absolute defense, dealing a certain amount of attack physical damage and inflicting 3 points of stun trauma. Quite standard so far. But what is absolute defense? Well, that's the evasion skill essentially. Absolute defense and ultimate evasion restores 200 points of load energy and triggers a 1-second global time fracture. Absolute defense can be automatically triggered. Can automatically trigger reverse stance, which is just then more damage and more load energy restoration. Essentially, this is like a counter, or like a parry, if you will. That's simplified to the highest degree. A filler mode for the fight, you know, there's like a bit of downtime. You're going to charge up your load energy by holding it down, or if you switch into Prometheus and if you can get a counter off at the exact right time, then this is probably going to be what you're going to be doing. But yeah, it's not overly important for the active gameplay. On the right side, nothing too important. DNS max value increase, and then defense mode restores DNS points. It's nothing too crazy. We're just going to move on from this section. But going on to the basic attack section, you can read the actual values yourself. The values aren't too important. The most important thing is to know is that you actually get a certain amount of load energy per sequence of attack. In the summary, it says sequence 1 to 4 gives 105 load energy in total, which is quite good to know. You have a max of 400, I'll tell you guys now. You have a max of 400 load energy. Being able to get a quarter of that done with 1 to 4 sequence is pretty good. But going on to the QTE here, triggered when enemies are affected by time slow or are hit by another team member's charge attack or combo attack, which is quite a good parameter, as from my understanding, a lot of the physical characters do have prominent charge/combo attacks, so you're going to be able to trigger her QTE quite easily. But the extra stuff to it, which is very important, deal 600% attack and physical damage and restore max load energy. The max load energy part there, triggered by the QTE, is actually severely important. and it's going to be a core part of her gameplay loop. Also, you also decrease the switch CD for the preceding Valkyrie by 4 seconds. Essentially, if you're switching from Hair into Prometheus, then Hair's switch cooldown will be reduced by 4 seconds. It's quite a handy thing. I'm not sure how critical it's going to be in the long run, but you're mainly here for that max load energy. Going on to Isolated 17, after using QTE, gain 5 SP and additional 5 SP for Prometheus herself. That's Team 5 SP, I forgot to say, Team 5 SP, and then additional 5 for Prometheus, so 10 for Prometheus, which is actually a lot of SP regeneration. I'm going to say this now, I think her SP regeneration is going to be her, like, strongest thing, or one of her strongest things. Maybe her, physical support capability is going to be her strongest, but her SP regeneration is, like, kind of, like, not a problem. It's good SP generation throughout the whole character, so very good. And then last thing, S2 initial SP value plus 40 once every 10 minutes in open world. It's fine. This is a pretty important one. The QTE is very, very important for this character. You want to be able to trigger her QTE as easily as possible. That charge attack and combo attack, although, all physical characters for that I can think of. Hair has charge attacks that you're going to be wanting to use. So does something like Palatus Equinox. Alicia, they all have charge attacks, so it's quite prominent no matter which character you slap on with her, you're going to be able to trigger a QTE quite easily. Going on to the ultimate though, we have a few different colors here, I'll explain as we go. So SP 90, cooldown 20 seconds, quite good so far. Prometheus unleashes a black hole, pulling all enemies in, and then extends her gauntlet from the ground and crushes the enemies, dealing 1500% attack of physical damage. That is a large amount of percentage, and so it's very good. So far, it's just damage really, but the ultimate consumes all current load energy for every 100 points. Load energy consumed, restore 250 DNS points. Now, the reason this one's in blue is to kind of outline that it's different and that it's not important. I would not recommend using your load energy and consuming your load energy through your ultimate. That implies that there is another way to consume it, which there is through your combo attack. So I would recommend using it for the combo attack, which I'll explain once we get to the combo attack section, rather than using it for the ultimate, as you get more benefits from using it with your combo attack. But then, going on, when the ultimate existence configuration manifold hits an enemy, inflict 18 points of stun trauma, so your ultimate essentially always stuns the enemies. Moving on to the right though, after using ultimate, team total damage plus 25%, very good, and then there's no name for this next one, but the ultimate and combo attack crit damage is increased by 100%, which is incredibly powerful, and this is what I mean by you'll be questioning if the character is actually a support or a main DPS, especially once we combo this with what's in the combo attack tree. But overall, this one's important, but do remember, try not to use your load energy for your ultimate. Always try to use your combo attack and then go into your ultimate, as I think that's going to give you a lot more bonuses. Moving on though, combo attack simulation neural network. Load energy has a maximum of 400 points. Initial value is 400, so you'll be starting the stages with 400 points, so you can go straight into the combos. After reaching max value, you can consume all load energy to cast a combo attack, dealing 800% attack or physical damage towards enemies. That's reason number one to always be consuming it with your combo attack. You get that extra 800% physical attack of damage or whatever. It's very, very good. Instead of wasting it just on the ultimate and then not getting the 800%, you get the 800%. Always good. More damage, eh? And then for every 100 points of load energy consumed, team gains 250 DNS value. When combo attack hits an enemy, inflicts 6 points of stun trauma. That's the other reason. You also get that same DNS value from doing it with your combo attack, but you also get the 6 points of stun trauma, which is also very good. Being able to stun the enemies frequently, never hurt anyone. But that's not the most important part. The most important part is on the right side. Super memory is quite alright. Each time a team member with DNS attacks an enemy, restore 3.5 SP for Prometheus. Another one of those SP regeneration factors for Prometheus, and it's going to end up being very, very powerful for her, as that is 3.5 SP per second, essentially, because it's under the assumption that you are attacking every single second, which is very, very good, because it obviously has a 1 second cooldown that is shared between characters. And that's all fine and dandy, but Supercomputer is a different ability in and of itself. So, for every 100 points of load energy consumed, Prometheus's shield break damage is plussed by 120%, to a total of 480%. Her physical damage is increased by 19% to a maximum of 76%, her crit rate by 21 to a maximum of 84, and this lasts for 5 seconds and is refreshable. This is why we want to be consuming the load energy, not maybe through the combo attack. This part has nothing to do with the combo attack, but you want to have this buff for the ultimate, which is then going to do mega damage. Then if you consumed 400 load energy in one consumption, which is what you want to be doing with the combo attack, the enemy will become vulnerable, defense decrease by 70% for 5 seconds. Incredible. Essentially the same impairment value that you have from Senti, you'll have from Prometheus, though it is for a much shorter cooldown for 5 seconds. This has a cooldown of 12 seconds though. So it's a bit more, harder to pull off for certain characters, but you're going to be getting massive damage from Prometheus herself, as you'll get this massive bonus, crit rate, physical damage, shield break, and then defense decrease, and then you'll use your ultimate, which will have 1500% damage in and of itself, 100% crit damage increase, plus all these bonuses here. You're going to be doing mega damage with Prometheus, and most likely have her as essentially a main DPS as well. It won't be a bad choice for you. But yeah, that's pretty good. Moving on onto her actual rank ups themselves, this is where we get into the Rebirth Supersymmetric Particle ability. This is the core part of her kit, and A rank, I'll say right now, we'll read the summary really quickly, but S is the bare minimum for the 27% more total damage from physical Valkyries. Triple S and double S are not overly required, they are just nice bonuses for damage. But reading rank A, when Prometheus hits an enemy with a combo attack or an ultimate, if that attack consumes 400 load energy, you trigger the SP attack Rebirth Supersymmetric Particle, dealing 800% attack of physical damage on top of the already 800 from your combo attack, so you're dealing 1600% attack of physical damage right then and there. This counts as ultimate damage. You receive 80% less total damage when casting the attack. If the SP attack hits an imaginary Nihilist Seed, whose current HP phase is below 20%, you will insta-kill it. Very, very powerful. You'll always have this. This one is just unlocked at A, so it's kind of like a all-rounder, and this is very good. This is also another reason you want to be consuming it with your combo attack, in my opinion. I know, it makes sense to use it with your combo attack, that whole load energy stuff. But anyway, moving on to S, Recall. When SP attack hits an imaginary enemy, drop an SP pack, so that's more SP regeneration. This character has so much SP regeneration, it's kind of unparalleled by a lot of characters nowadays, I'd say. And the target takes 27% more total damage from physical Valkyries. Very good. It is physical, very specific, so you're not going to be able to combo this with, ice or lightning or whatever, but still 27% more total damage just for having an S-rank character is very good. Double S, again, not so important. Continue. When SP attack hits an enemy who has a broken shield or whose shield is broken within 10 seconds, inflict shattered armor for 5 seconds, during which their shield cannot recover. This is going to be a lot more important for the 1% of players who are trying to get higher rankings and, want to, extend their damage phases. That's more important for these guys, as you're going to be able to extend the damage phase, get more damage in during the shield broken phase, have more uptime, and so on and so forth. Your DPS is going to be much higher, essentially. So that's for you guys. For the general player, double S is not going to be an overly important one. But triple S may or may not be, depends on if you want to do mega damage. SP attack, crit damage plus 120%. It's just the crit damage of your Rebirth Supersymmetric Particle is increased by 120%. It's nothing too crazy, but it is a pretty hefty damage increase. Overall, A is a must-have. You'll always have A, so we just move that down to S. S is a must-have for that 27% more total physical damage for physical Valkyries. The other two are just if you want them, really, and if you want the very specifics of it. But steadily moving on to her gears. Now, there's a few things to take away from this, and her gears are pretty important for her, I believe so. But just let's go through it. Active is activate wish mode. That's all we really need to know about this, is that you activate wish mode. And then when an ultimate hits an enemy, host physical damage plus 15%. It's host physical damage, so it's not overly important for this support Valkyrie. But going on to passive 1, Terminal Aid 0017, which is Prometheus's name, I believe, equip bonus. SP attack deals additional 400% attack of physical damage, so that 800% goes up to 1200% essentially. And then casting an ultimate or an SP attack will trigger a weapon active and restore 1000 points of DNS. So, just through the mere act of casting your ultimate or your SP attack, which is done through spending 400 load energy, you'll be able to cast her weapon active, which will then give you wish mode or your wish status. So you can kind of alleviate the factor of pressing her weapon active and just go for casting the ultimate or the SP attack through your combo attack to get the bonuses without having to press an extra button. So it kind of alleviates a bit of stress, I guess. And number 2, or passive number 2, team physical damage plus 18%. So the mere act of equipping this weapon on someone, you get more physical damage, which is always good. And then Terminal A0017 equip bonus. During wish mode, When ultimate hits an enemy, all enemies on the field take 12% more physical damage, lasts for 20 seconds. Overall, pretty good, but you honestly, with this one, you can just chuck it on any character as long as they are in a physical team. They'll have some sort of bonus because of that 18% physical damage bonus. But obviously on Prometheus, you'll get that extra 12%, which is always fine and dandy. Moving on to the Stigma, though, this is where it gets a bit interesting. So we're starting off with the top one. This is the Dr. May Stigma. The visuals can potentially be seen very small-like on the next screen, but for now, the top one is host total damage plus 20%, which is okay. And then when the QTE hits an enemy, host physical damage plus 20%. You might see if, a common occurrence, it's host physical damage. A lot of it is just host physical damage. And so you might be thinking, maybe Prometheus is a main DPS. No, she's not. She's a shield break support. But regardless, the middle piece, host physical damage plus 20%, obviously. And then when ultimate hits an enemy, team shield break damage plus 40%. Very good on that part. The team shield break damage is always great. The bottom piece, team total damage 15%, which is actually very good. Just having this on will give you team total damage. And then when ultimate hits an enemy that have a shield or have a broken shield, gain guide status. Team physical damage plus 13%, last 20 seconds is refreshable. But if you are running this in the prime situation and you have all three pieces, what does the 2 set do? Well, upon casting the ultimate, team gains total damage plus 10%, last 22 seconds is refreshable. And then final assistant, or which is, I believe, Aid Terminal 0017. I don't know why I use that name. I think that was also there in the video. This is a equip bonus. If May Bottom is equipped, when ultimate hits an enemy, immediately gain guide status. Now, with the 2 set, you can now get that guide status through just hitting an enemy, which is actually a very good thing. But again, it's dependent on the 2 set. So if you do just get the bottom and you want to get that team total damage and that team fizz damage, well, it's not going to be able to be possible. So then you'll have to invest in another piece. But don't worry, I'll talk about something after we get through the 3 set now. But following that, during guide status, team gains additional fizz damage plus 10%. Great. And then 3 set, team shield break damage plus 40%. When the ultimate hits an enemy, all enemies on the field take 15% more physical damage. Last 20 seconds is refreshable. Very, very good. So what do we take away from here? Well, if you just have bottom, the bottom piece, you're not going to be able to do much against enemies that do not have a shield. If they do have a shield, though, you'll be quite good. Then, if you do get a second piece, the whole build becomes a lot smoother, as it's not dependent on shielded enemies. So now you can use her as a support in any situation. And then obviously, once you get the 3 set, the character's in her prime situation, and the character is good and everything. So that's the character. But the reason this is not going to be overly important is that it's going to be heavily encouraged, and I heavily encourage you guys, and I heavily encourage a lot of people who are looking to get a decent character, decent support that's going to have a bit of longevity here, is roll on her gears. The reason for this is that, from my understanding, is that Prometheus's gears are having the same kind of mechanic that the Herrscher of Origins gears had when she launched. Is that essentially, if you do 110 roll, you'll have 5 rolls refunded to you for the first 40 refunds, essentially, or for the first 40 rolls refunded to you. So you'll be able to very, very easily get her gears maxed out. Generally speaking, if you have a decent amount of gems right now, you'll be able to very easily get her gears. And a bit of luck, you get a few early pieces, maybe get one late, and you'll have her full set in no time. And with the general power that her set provides, a lot of host damage, a lot of physical damage, and a lot of team shield breaking damage, you'll be able to have her, and she's a very powerful unit, because she's obviously an SP unit. I forgot to mention that she's SP, so you'll be able to get her for free. Plus her gears, just invest in the gears. That's what I'm going to encourage people to do if you do want a decent to pretty high level physical support shield breaker. But let's say you don't want to invest in the gears. Maybe you play the game at a later date, you missed out on getting her gears, you just didn't know that kind of deal was happening. What are some other sets that you can use? Well, on the right side, you have her kind of like best in slots. You have the ones that will most likely be for her. Dr. May is obviously her signature, and so rocking that one will give you the best possible outcome, but you need bottom piece most likely. Essentially 90% of the time you need bottom piece. It's a dependency. But Paganini is not a bad option. It's essentially Caroline Peppers, the previous shield break character's full set. Shield break, physical damage, boosts team instead of self, and charge attack dependency. So it's a bit more dependent on a few other factors. But again, it's shield break stuff, so it's playing a bit more to her strong suit. Now, the reason I included the ones on the left, which would generally be considered like main DPS sets, is because Prometheus kind of does that. You'll notice that throughout the whole thing, I've just been talking about how much damage she does and how she can be mistaken for a main DPS, and it's because she does do a lot of damage. Now, in the rare situation that unfortunately you don't get her gears, or you just don't have Paganini, or something along those lines that you don't have her support gears, I'd recommend running her as just like a co-DPS essentially, because she has such high innate values. You'll be able to get a lot more value out of that by running, Alicia, it's like crit damage boosting there, or Alan Poe, crit rate and crit damage and basic attack, or generic Dirac physical damage boosting would also work. That's absolutely fine. But if you do have Einstein top, as it is here in the middle of the screen, if you do have Einstein top, that is a bit of extra small shield damage that you can add to your build through just one stigma if you do want a bit more shield damage. But again, it's really up to you if you have this. I don't have this, and I'm probably never going to get it, so I'm just going to run whatever the hell I can on this character. But going to what characters she will work for. She is a physical support, like shield breaker, so any physical main DPS will work. Primarily characters that have a charge attack based combo, Alicia, Palatinus, Bright Knight, would work very well. Even, Stygian Nymph would work extremely well, as they are based in some sort of charge attack kind of mechanic, and so you can trigger Prometheus's QTE a lot easier. But generally speaking, any of these will function perfectly, because they're just physical DPS. More importantly, it's who is you going to co-support with. The choices that I see a lot of people talking about, and the one that I'm going to recommend mostly, is going to be Griseo, but Senti also works just fine. The difference between these two as co-supports with Prometheus, the difference between them is going to be very, very minute. It's going to be almost non-existent. But if you're running a full, full gear Senti versus a full gear Griseo, it's just going to be exactly the same results. But whichever one you have the more gear of, that's the one I'd recommend. Senti has the same impair bonus, so you may want to run her. Griseo has a lot of like bleed stuff and a lot of debuffing with bleed and a lot of physical damage bonuses with bleed and enemy damage taken with bleed. And so it's depending on which one you have more gears of, and that's the one I'm going to recommend running. And then finally, going on to the gameplay flow. Quite an easy section. This character is not complex to play. I'll be honest with you. Very simple. You want a QTE in with the character and you gained 400 load energy. Then you want to combo attack and consume that load energy. You trigger all those extra bonuses, the damage increase, the SP attack, and all those extra little things that we've covered in the video. You trigger them all, and then you use your ultimate for big damage, plus all the bonuses that come from pressing her ultimate, that come from the actual Stigmata, which is a lot of damage bonuses, and then you switch out to the main DPS. That's practically how it's going to go. There is a small caveat that I'm going to add here, which is essentially, if you have a bit of downtime during the fight, you're most likely going to switch to Prometheus prematurely, and you're going to most likely hold down her evasion so you can charge up your load energy without having to do it through a QTE. Now, you may want to not do that, to get the damage bonus from the QTE and have like a bit of like, let's say gameplay fluidity, but generally speaking, you probably will just come into the character, charge up the load energy, and then maybe switch to another character to do some other stuff. But this is simply the gameplay flow. If you are in combat, in motion, in the flow, is you get a QT in, gain energy, combo attack, ultimate, and then switch out. Simple as that. And the final thoughts on the character. Final thoughts of the character is that she's going to be a staple in the game. What she does is much, much more powerful than what a lot of other supports are doing right now. She's not going to outshine, let's say, something like a Senti in terms of certain areas. Senti, I think, has a little bit more, let's say, permanence with some of her debuffs and her buffs, whilst Prometheus has a bit, like, especially that little, that defense reduction. It's only 5 seconds, while Senti, I believe, applies it for a lot longer. But generally speaking, she's going to be a new staple. She's replacing Caroline Peppers 100% of the time. Caroline Peppers cannot compete with this level of shield breaking and this level of damage bonuses. It's just impossible. She has a cool name, and she looks cool. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. She looks cool, and she's going to be the new kind of physical support in a lot of teams. Not all of them. I did say all of them here, but it's not all of them. It's just 90% of them. But that's that. Hope you guys enjoyed. Today, we covered Prometheus, and Prometheus, yeah, like I said, an incredible character. I would recommend everyone to roll on her gears. Her gears are incredibly powerful, and they're going to be a staple to have, and a lot of people are recommending just rolling for her gears. I know Marissa recommended, 100% rolling for her gears, as it's going to be super simple to get, and you're going to be missing out on a lot of value if you do not have her gears. But obviously, again, I don't want to force anyone to roll on them, so if you do not actually want physical support gears, absolutely fine. don't roll in them. But if you are looking for any semblance of a physical support gear, by all means, roll on Prometheus' gears. They're very good. As for rolling on her, you don't have to. She's an SP support character, so you'll be able to get her for free just through grinding. But if you do want to get a bit of early damage in some of the leaderboards, by all means, invest in the character. But that's going to be all from me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.